much for joining us today, ladies and gentlemen, for a wonderful brown bag lecture on traditional ecological knowledge in China. We are so happy to welcome Dr. Zhang Ye to join us for this session. This brown bag lecture is part of our continuing efforts to continue Mike Mansfield's legacy of both ethics and politics and also East Asian affairs and bringing that together and bringing it to Montana. If you have not received a copy of our brown bag lecture for this semester, please do take one today. We have many more wonderful talks coming up, including talks on U.S.-Japan relations, climate change in Vietnam, and also on Korean culture. This session today is being recorded by the Missouri Community Access Television as part of their media access grants. We thank them so much for attending many of our lectures, and you can find many of our past brown bag lectures online at mcat.org. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Len Broberg, Director of the Environmental Studies Program, to introduce our wonderful speaker today.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, everybody, for turning out today. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Zhang Ye to you all. Zhang helped me when I went to her university, Guizhou University of Finance and Economics, and taught there during my sabbatical. And so I've been thrilled and delighted to be able to host her in a visiting scholar role here at the University of Montana since she arrived in January. Her background is a PhD in economics, but she's worked extensively on issues of local communities and their management of resources. And she is someone who has worked extensively with Eleanor Ostrom, and so brings that kind of common pool resource management background as well to her work in her home in China. So with that, please welcome Zhang Ye. Dr. Ye.
Thank you all. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming here to attend this lecture. It's my pleasure to give a lecture here. Today, I would like to introduce my research in my hometown, Guizhou province. It's about traditional ecological knowledge and resource management. Here is where I come from, Guizhou province. It's southwest of China. It's a mountain region. And it's less development of China. So I want to introduce some background of my research. My research is concentrated on minority group, Dong. And Dong have 3 million people. More than half of them live in Guizhou. There are still some live in Laos and Vietnam. So they have their own cultures, traditional cultures about ecologics. And our research village is Huanggang villages. They located in Qiandongnan Autonomous Prefecture, Guizhou, and this is our basic information. And the paddy field they have is only 0.3 hectares per household. So we can say they only have very few paddy field in this region. So we can see this natural resources in this area. This is the village of Huanggang. Now we can see the paddy field is very small, and they have a forest average coverage rate is more than 70%. 70% is much more than other parts of China. And this is what they are doing now. They still use these cow horses to plow the field. I just took this picture last year, and until recent years, they can use this one because the government will give subsidy for them, so they can buy some kind of modern machine. This is the view of now. It looks very original, but they have very old tradition to do how to do their culture in this area. That's what I want to do. I want to introduce for you rice fish duck farming system. And in a simple word, they raise duck, fish, and planting the glued rice in the same time. Oh, I need to mention that their staple food is glued rice. It's not common rice. It's the character of this area. And rice to prevent fish and duck from the basket sunlight and natural elements. We can see different parts can get benefit from these systems. And this system looks perfect because the fish can get food from the paddy. The duck can eat the pest. And fish and ducks movement stir the soil, then give material to this land, make it more soil, make it fertilized for the paddy field. It looks like a circular economy. And I would like to say this system, this farming system, have continued for 1,000 years. I need to introduce detail about this one, the glutinous rice variety and planted. In this region, traditionally, they have more than 200 glutinous rice varieties, but now they only have 45. In this village, we can find more than 20 glutinous rice varieties. And they play this rice in different paddy field, and according to the sunlight they can get, according to the soil, according to the height, they can play, and the soil fertilized. We'll see this one. The rice usually have a high but strong stalk. Some are up to 2.5 meters high. And this will keep them stable, and along the fish can fly swimming in it. And the duck cannot eat the fruit. The second one is tolerant to drought and flood. This area, we can see from the picture, is not all paddy field on the slope, more than 25-degree slope. In China, it should be returned to forest. But according to their system, we can keep this paddy field very good. This part, we can see the sunlight is insufficient. And in such a small place, maybe we can plant 5 or 4 different kinds of glue rice, according to how much sunlight they can get, how many waters they can get. Another trait in this area is the climate change. The cold is very cold. The water is very cold in early spring. It's not good for the growth of the rice. Then they will choose different variety of glue rice. They can endure the drought and flood. Another one is interplant more than one glue rice variety in one field, I just mentioned. A small field, they can plant 4 or 5 different glue rice. Another reason they do this is help to control disease outbreaks. And that is rice. I'll look at the fish reason. Fish, they usually will put some carp and grass fish in it. Most of them are carp because it grows faster. And here is, let's see. Yeah. Here is fish pond. The fish pond will place these plants, and these plants can absorb some nutrition in the water and provide shade for the fishes. Also, they can feed for the pigs. This is the fish pond. This is the restroom, the bathroom. And here is the bar. They will hang the rice along this bamboo. And more than 10,000 fish flies are put into 1 hectare of paddy field every spring. And at harvesting time, every hectare of paddy field can harvest 450 kilograms of fishes, this area. Another one is duck. Every morning, villagers will take ducks into the field with them. Just like this woman, they take the ducks in this basketball, in this basket. And the duck's movement will give the soil enough air and strengthen the ice stroke. And when the pest happens, the villagers will take the duck into the field and eat the pest. That is what they do for the pest. Another one is they will use the bamboo to shake pest drop into the field. Then duck and fish can eat the pest effectively. They will use some plant to control the pest. For example, tobacco and these plants. According to them, they can kill 70% of pests. During the harvest, it's an important festival, important event in this community, because the harvest is not a family's affair. It's the whole family. I mean, the father side, the whole father side's family. They will get together and go to the field to harvest the rice for each other. Then after the harvest, they will use this excrement or excators to fertilize their land, and they will use this plant to fertilize their land too. This is what they plant the seed in the field before they harvest. And after harvest, they will cut and put in it to fertilize the soil. That is what they do for the field. And we'll talk about the multiple purpose of glue rice, except to eat with their major food, and they have other uses. The rice straw, especially the good to the rice straw, can use for many purposes. For example, fodder to feed cattle, and organic nature to return to paddy field. They even burn ash of glutinous rice through field water to wash hair and clothes. And they think they can cure some disease such as skin disease, fever, and other disease. I should mention, this area, though married, have a reputation of longevity. There are not old women more than 90 or 100 years old. This is what they are doing for weaving and dyeing their clothes. They still use this clothes. They still wear this clothes. And we just talking about the whole system of this rice, fish, and duck farming system. It looks perfect. And we'll say what is advantage of the farming system. For ecological benefit, I think it's reduce material emission. And second one is improve soil fertility by raising the temperature of soil, promote the rise on absorbing of nutrition. The third one is detention and store water. Because we are mountain areas, it's hard to store waters, and that's big and deep fish pond and deep paddy field. It's like a different small reservoir for local, so they can hold water during the winter and avoid flood during the summer. It's a very useful way. The fourth one is increase biodiversity and stability. In this area, for common children, for adolescents from 10 to 40 years old, they can recognize maybe 100 to 400 different plants. Why? We can introduce nature. And another one important is economic benefit. Because we know lots of traditional ecological knowledge arrive in different color of the world, but most of them disappeared. Why? Because maybe they cannot get enough benefit from this system. But compared with traditional agriculture, other traditional or modern agricultural systems, they can get more benefit because they cannot only get benefit from the glue rice, they can get the benefit from fish, from duck. So it's one ensuring local livelihood security. They can get enough income from this system, and they can face the market fluctuate. For example, the rice price down, but they can get compensated from the fish, from the duck. The second one is social and cultural influence. I just mentioned during the harvest season, it's a social committing for local people, because every family will help others to harvest. It's a cooperation, reciprocity condition for them, and then they will learn from each other. They will tell each other which one can be eat, which rice variety is good, so they can get more variety of rice. Last one is mental and physical health. I just mentioned this region or Dong Minorate have the reputation of longevity because their major food is Google rice. They can get fresh fish from their paddy, and they will work together, commune together about their traditional knowledge. We'll say this one. The children will follow their mother when he was young into the field. And after harvest, this is not a picnic, this is their lunch. During lunch time, they will get fish just direct from the paddy. They will find some edible wild vegetables around this area. They can get more than 20 different vegetables. And during this time, these young people will know which one can be edible. And their young children will learn these different plants names from their young. They learn these different names more than graduate students when we go to their graduate students in ecological. They learn more different plants than graduate students because they can discern different one in their area. But they can only realize the lived one. They cannot discern on the map, on the book, printed one. And because of the modernization, they face some problems too. In China, the most challenge is come from government actually, because the government will enforce some policy. The first one imposed is chemical fertilizer and pesticides. They will require the local community to buy it, and actually the local people different from others. They don't like the chemical fertility. When the government don't force them to do that, they will give up it. They return to their old fashion to do the plant pesticides, something like that. This one is chemical and fertilizer and pesticides first by government. And through use it, actually, they gain less from the land. Another one government will force them to do is, because traditionally they only eat blue rice. Blue rice is their staple food. But Chinese government will force them to plant hybrid rice. According to them, hybrid rice will be higher output. But actually in this region, it's not suitable for this area. And they don't like to eat that. The market price is lower than blue rice. It's another problem. And hybrid rice are more easily to get pest. Yeah. The second one is the green to green program. That means return farmland to forest. I just mentioned most of the land in this area is on the slope, and according to government, the land on the slope more than 25 degrees need to return to forest in order to protect the environment. But actually in this area, it's not suitable policy because they have developed a good system to help this area. They don't need to cut the forest to let the land get information, get the enough sunlight. This one we can say the forest have shadow on this land, but they don't cut it because they have different variety, rice variety planting, so they can endure this less sunlight conditions. They don't need to do that. Also, this area is famous for the center. It's a major center region in China. Another challenge for this system is population aging and immigration. Most of the time, we can only meet old people in this area. Just like this old lady, she's more than 80 years old. She still in labor, work every day. And another one is along the modernization. everywhere in China, more and more more and more young generation move to the city. In this village, more than 17% of young generations move to the city to find a new job in the city. And the problem for the family system is it's a neighbor-intensive work. They need more neighbors. But because most of the young neighbors move to the city, they cannot continue this system. It's a big problem for this system. But I want to say is, compare with ecological benefit, the value we got in ecological, cultural, and social, even economics. We can find some way to solve this when the neighbor is inefficient. Because when we compare with mono-agriculture, for example, to planting hybrid rice in this region, the family system, the fishing duck, and the rice system can get more income compared with other agriculture system. In my opinion, I think this system have a powerful vitality in the future, especially for mountain region. We don't have big land. In region like this, you cannot use modern machine. But according to these local knowledges, you can make full use of local resources, forest and rice and fish and duck, to get as much as more they can get from the nature. This is what the farming system, I think, is important for the future. We can protect ecology and continue our culture and social stability. I think you will call about is why this system can sustain for more than 1,000. Actually, its main group is moved from the east of China because they were defeated by other groups, so they immigrate to these remote areas. They have this system in this area, but of course, obviously, this area's natural environment is different from here, so they adapt it. Now they can adapt it very well in this region. But because the government or outside people don't know much about it, they were influenced by the so-called modern technology and some, for example, the chemical fertilizer or hybrid breed. Some people think it's more output than the traditional way. But actually, they have their way to protect the ecology and environment and get enough. The most important is to get enough income from this system. Another important thing you will ask is what they can sustainable development. They can continue to use this system because they have a very completely social institution to support it. For example, during the harvest season, and at the harvest season and planting, they have a complete ritual to do it. During the spring, only the leader of the village to plant the first one in the land. Other family can plant it, and they will learn how to plant and how to get the new vibrant in this area, generation by generations. And during the course, their knowledges will inherit generation by generations, and they will get information, they will get knowledge from their ancestors. So I think more important is what is support for the farming system is they have a very stable institutions to ensure it. That is what I think. But I think we don't have enough time to talk about this today. That is what I want to show you today. Thank you.
Do we have some questions?
Mm-hmm.
Jane, I was very interested on the slide where you talked about the pig and cattle and human excrement going in there, as well as several other additions. But this one, yeah, this back, forward. Straight forward, this one. Well, anyway, are they treating the animal and human excrement first before they put it in the patties there, so that it doesn't, do they have any problems with disease by putting animal and human excrement into the patties?
They need to fermentation of
They do
that.
fermentation of
Yeah,
it first and create a manure base for it and then put that in?
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
And how are they treating human excrement? And you've got villages who are living very close together, and then the patties right next to them too.
Yeah. Because it's lunch time, so I don't talk about it too much. I'll say this one. Here. Here is the toilet. This is the fish pond.
So it goes directly into the fish ponds, and then it ferments and breaks down there.
Yeah. Mhm.
Does the Chinese government have any program in place to try and save and preserve all these different varieties of rice, the natural varieties? Or are they mostly pushing these technological hybrids that are coming in either from their own technology or overseas?
No, China government don't protect the local variety, rice variety. They just want to implement that hybrid rice. I think the best way to protect it is government just let it go, don't to charge it. They can charge it very well.
Do the Dong have any kind of authority under the Chinese system of government to be able to resist those reforms better because of their indigenous status? Are they able to, if they organize to do so, would they have any kind of levers to be able to, any policies that they could use to push back and say, we should be accepted from this policy?
They have some institutions to protect it strictly, but they cannot do that publicly. There are old paper during, because government maybe implement a hybrid rice during the 2019s. Right. Yeah, and during that time, the elder people will try to keep their traditional varieties. Mm-hmm. They will plant their variety in higher mountain. Just avoid the government official will say it. And other family members will help them to do it. Because after they get the variety of the rice varieties, the varieties name will named by the family's name. So that will be a good reputation, and they can get cooperation, and they can get help from others. So they have the encouragement, incentive to do it. This is their own institution, but not supported by government.
So the rice variety is part of their personal identity, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Their name is attached to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
On average, how far do the fish and the rice and duck?
Sorry?
The fish and the rice and the duck, how far do they travel when they sell them? Like, do they export them outside of China, or does it stay inside of China?
No. Just sell in this region, not export. They don't have enough to export. And actually, fish is not only a food for them. They will use it. There are some lots of very important rituals, sacrifice or some traditional rituals to commemorate their ancestors, something like that.
Okay,
Mhm.
so they only sell the rice. They don't sell the fish, right?
They will sell the fish, but not so many.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not enough for export. Mhm. Some NGO just mentioned if government will protect the world, some NGO will do this. Mhm.
Okay.
Then they will sell online because it's organic, very traditional, very good food. But because the output is limited, it's a problem actually.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And another question right
Yeah,
here.
I wanted to follow up Len's question a little bit more. Is there any effort by people like yourself and others to try to inform agricultural officials about the value of these traditional systems? And I say that because For example, in Indonesia, they pursued the same policies of high-yield varieties, subsidizing fertilizers, petrochemical inputs. And after doing so for a couple of decades, they realized they were unsuccessful at controlling certain insects and diseases. So then began to try to re-embrace the old methods. So there's a lot of history from the region that I'm surprised isn't informing the Chinese discussion about agricultural policies. Are there no officials in the ag sector that are understanding and respecting these kinds of systems and having a bit of debate within the bureaucracy?
I mean, we'll talk about this agricultural.
About high-yield varieties with petrochemical inputs versus traditional sustainable practices, as these farmers have demonstrated. Is there no debate within the agricultural government officials?
Actually, now Chinese government only pay more attention to the output of the rice. No.
Yes, yeah, and that's what's so interesting, because in Indonesia they made the same decision because the output from the traditional systems was greater over time. They couldn't control particularly brown leafhopper pests on rice. They lost that battle. And they then tried to switch back to traditional varieties and traditional means of insect and disease control.
But compared with the whole Chinese farmland, this region is just a small ratio.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's marginal.
Given that and how long the Chinese have been on that land, with the Cultural Revolution and everything else, didn't we lose thousands of years of traditional ecological knowledge? Just like this happens to survive, but all the other rest of the country has already lost it in terms of. Do you have any sense of that there were individual areas of China exactly the same that had worked it out over thousands of years to live off the land? And we lost all that, I guess.
So your question is why they can keep this?
Is there study of traditional ecological knowledge out that in other places in China?
Actually, when we talk about ecological, it's not only about ecological, it actually is about social and culture. They have very stable social and cultural institutions. That is the basic line to protect the ecological. If we, just you mentioned, Cultural Revolution, they destroyed the institutions. So most of villages that like this, their culture just disappeared. So now if we want to protect the traditional, the ecological tradition, ecological knowledge, we need to protect their institution, their culture, and social cohesion. The social cohesion for me, I think, according to my field work experience, is more important because more and more Chinese farmers, young generation, move out. It's hard to integrate them together. But during the labor, because the harvesting, it's a socialized process. They can cohesion, they help each other. But if the relative revenue compared with industry is lower, nobody want to do that. So I think because in most of the country, especially region area, the revenue, the income from agriculture is obviously lower than industry. So government should do something to do it, increase the revenue, the relative revenue, relative incomes from the agriculture. It's the best way to protect it.
China seems to be embracing reforestation. So could you talk a little bit more about returning some of these lands to forests and what the long-range plan is for the Chinese?
Yeah, as I mentioned, because most of them, their land are on the slope. On the slope beyond 25, according to Chinese government, it should be returned to forest. But in this area, after they return to the forest, the ecological benefit is lower. Because this land, this paddy field, is more comfortable, it's more suitable for this area for their ecologically. they can protect the forest very well. But according to their ideology, they not just protect the forest. They think forest is useful for them. They don't plant forest actually. They just cut the forest and put the grow rice in it. Then after several months, they will have sprout out. They'll cut some, not one. They'll cut some of it and leave the good one. After 3 or 5 years, the center, usually center trees, will grow big enough to use. This is their way to do for the forest. They are not just protect. Their main purpose is to use it actually. And they have, I want to mention about it is not about the forest. Their ideology about the nature and the creature. They have said there is no useless insect. They can eat insect. There is no absolutely bad pest. There's no absolute pest. That is what their view about this creature. So they only like to use fertilizer. They will like to use plant or duck to eat the pest, to control the pest, or by plant different variety of grow rice in the same field to control it. This is their ideology, I think. Mm-hmm.
I have one question for you. So, are there what percentage of production in China do you think is monocrops, monoculture, just the rice, and what percentage do you think is still trying to use these traditional methods?
I'm sorry, I don't have the exact number, but I think the hybrid rice is pretty high in China. Mm-hmm. It's very high in China, maybe more than 18 or 19%. Mm-hmm. There are just very few ratio.
I wish I knew more about the percentage of the Chinese population that's interested in organic food. Do you see, is that growing? And do you see that as a possible way to protect this livelihood?
Yes, I think the population care about the organic food is increasing, especially in urban, in city, because some of my friends she work for the NGO. They will do something to help these local people to sell product to the city. But the same question is, they just have a very small amount of it, because organic food is expensive. And most of Chinese family actually is small family, core family. Honestly, some of them don't cook at home actually. So it's a problem. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your knowledge and helping us learn more and understand more about this traditional ecological knowledge in China. Thank you.